Today I want to share with you my take on the importance of goal setting and a new acronym that I've recently come across that I'm finding quite exciting to both imply and implicate within my own life, but also in my business, and helping the teams to understand the benefit of also. So without further ado, I want to share a few minutes with you all the importance on goal setting. Now, if you haven't already watched possibly one of the most frequently watched TED Talks of all time of Dr. Simon Sinek and his TED Talk Start With Why, then I strongly recommend that you make sure that that's on your list of things to do, probably today, to understand the value and the importance of having a clear why statement. And in my videos, you'll notice that I've already got a video called How to Create BFHAGs. Big, fat, hairy, audacious goals. Things that are so big and scary that unless you're fully motivated and committed to them every single aspect of the day, every day of the week, that you've probably got no or little chance of really actually achieving. It's all about being able to set a goal that's so scary that you're motivated to do it, becomes beyond a job, it becomes a vocation. And when you tell other people, they are so inspired by it that they want to be able to simply drop what they're doing and come and follow. You get the drift here. So how do you create a set of goals for yourself and then stay so motivated to them? And how do you pass that on to other members of your team and your colleagues and your wider workforce in order to be able to help them to be able to achieve their goals also? Well, there's two things here. First of all, it's about alignment. It's about congruence. It's about being able to understand that as a business owner, you have an idea of what success looks like for you, your family, for the wider audience with whom you care about the most. And the chances are that your business is being utilised in order to be able to help you to achieve your goals. That's great. That's what a business owner ought to be doing, to understand that you have a set of principles to which you're going to work towards, the things that mean the most to you, and you've formed a business and you're now growing a business to be able to help achieve those outcomes. Marvellous. However, that's only the first step. You see, unless your sole intent, and I'm not quite sure how you're ever going to be able to grow a business and inspire other people, if this is your sole intent, is the moment that you've achieved your goals, you close the business and lay everybody off and redundant and say, thanks very much guys, I've achieved my level of success. That's it. It doesn't work like that. The other flip side to your success is the success of the business, and to create a legacy within the business, that the business continues to go and grow beyond your level of involvement within it, that it is a going concern, that it continues to grow and evolve beyond your impact with it. I'm very fortunate that when I bought my first business, I cheated. I bought a business that was already trading and had 2 or 3 members of staff, 4 members of staff when I bought the business, and then grew it significantly from there. When I sold it, there were 22 people on the payroll. But I didn't sell it with 22 people on the payroll and it retained those 22 people, or it diminished as a result of my extracting from it. Ironically, the last time I checked, and it was probably about a year ago now, I understand that there's now 35 people on the payroll, and the business has continued to grow and evolve and develop beyond my responsibilities with it. So it's about being able to have a set of personal goals, but then also being able to have a set of goals within the business, a business mission, some form of something to aim for, a purpose that everybody else in the business can get behind, that continues to evolve beyond my involvement. So it's about having my own personal goals, and then the business having a set of goals, and that the two are congruent, so that one is supporting the other. So I'm not at odds with where I want to be and what I'm doing, but one supports the other, but has the capacity to continue to grow beyond me. And then it's about being able to get other people involved and to buy into that culture and the vision and the values of the business, the mission, in order for other peoples to help and support the business to grow also. So like I say, there's a video already in YouTube and wherever you're watching this that I've recorded previously all about BFHAGs, the big, fat, hairy, audacious goal that you want to set for you in the business in order to be able to grow exponentially beyond that limited level of thinking that says, well, I'd like to be 5% better off than next year than this, or 10%. We've got to be able to think bigger. But the acronym that I wanted to share with you very briefly today is something I've recently learned while studying called SPIRIT. Now, we've all come across SMART goals, and if you've watched the video that I've recorded previously, an interview with David Heiner, where I talk about why SMART goals aren't, then again, there's another great video there for you to be able to listen to me and Dave talking about why SMART goals are actually not very smart at all. So I've never been keen on SMART goals. I'm more of the Brendan Burchard camp of dumb goals and understanding that they're far more impactful. But recently I've learned this new acronym, SPIRIT, and I thought I'd share that with you today and see what you make of it. So SPIRIT is another acronym for setting personal goals, and it stands for S being specific. Well, we know that from SMART goals. We've got to be very specific about exactly what it is that we're trying to work towards. So to take some time out and to be able to be really specific about what it is that that success looks like for both you and your family, and to map it out, to be able to say, instead of I want to live in a bigger house, well, how much bigger house? Whereabouts is it going to be? Does it have a south-facing garden, or is it going to be in the middle of town? Be very specific about exactly what it is. It might be that you go on to Rightmove or Zoopla or wherever it is that you're looking at houses, and you pick a particular house and say, do you know what, one day I'd love to live in a house just like that, and you look around it with one of those virtual tours and you find out how much it costs and the mortgage and this and the other. You're very specific about exactly what it is that you want to be able to achieve. P stands for prizes. Now, I love this because unlike many of the other acronyms when it comes to goal setting, we don't recognise that all of us, our human behaviour determines that we operate on what's considered a carrot and a stick. What we mean by that is we either worked towards something to try and achieve something, or we worked to move away from something that we don't want anymore. I'm going to do this because I don't want to have to go back and get a job. I'm going to do this because I want to be able to employ my own workforce. So something's to work towards or something's to work away from. And yet the one thing that we forget to do is create milestones along the way to recognise that we're still on the same direction, that we're heading in the right path, and to acknowledge the hard work and determination that you've put in so far to get to where you are. I often say to our clients, usually around November, December time, let's just have a quick reflection on what it is that we've achieved over the last 12 months. Well, we're not going in that direction, Jay. We need to talk about all the things that we need to achieve next year. So, well, we will do that in a second or two. But let's just take stock and understand the distance and the journey that we've already taken to acknowledge that we're still in the right path, that we're heading in the right direction, and to see that progress is being made. So prizes are all about being able to have little mini milestones along the way that says, when I achieve this, I will be able to have X. When I achieve Y, I'll be able to have something else. And have little treats along the way, or milestones of achievement and recognition that continues to motivate us to be able to do more and to contribute more in order to be able to have a better outcome. So prizes are all about being able to have mini milestones along the way, specifically if it's a big, fat, hairy, audacious goal that continues to motivate us, the carrot that we dangle in front that says, and you will be rewarded for the efforts, and therefore it creates a behaviour, it creates a habit of habitual doing because we're seeing the benefit and reward from. It's not just a case of, but I want to be further away from having to get a job. The further away we are from what it is that we're working away from, the less likelihood that there's a real motivations to keep going forward. And the amount of times that I've seen business owners getting to a certain level of business and then switching off and almost become demotivated by the, well, you know, it's not so bad anymore, the mortgage is paid, I've got some cash in the bank, it's fine. Well, the problem you've got is if you switch off and you take your foot off the accelerator, all of the staff that are working with you to be able to help achieve that say, hang on a minute, I haven't achieved my level of success yet. I want to be able to do more. And if you're going to put the brakes on and this business isn't going to deliver it to me, then there's a good chance I'll go and find it somewhere else. And before you know it, all of your staff have left, cash is plummeting, and you're thrown back into the business through, well, completely your own fault, really, by not recognising that the business has to have some missions and visions and values, and that it's contributing towards other people's success, not just your own. So prizes for milestones allow us to continue to be motivated and moving forward. The I stands for individual. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm keen to be able to have a business mission that we're all contributing towards and we're all pulling in the same direction. But we also need to be able to help employees to understand as to how that relates and is congruent to what it is that they're trying to achieve, that their personal goals and aspirations for the future. So spending a little bit of time understanding that each set of goals needs to be personalised and individual to the person that's going to try and achieve them, and attribute us being able to grow the business by 25% allows us to be able to offer a pay rise, which might subsequently enable you to be able to get the mortgage that you want, and therefore we've helped you to get them. Being able to create individual goals as opposed to saying, right, we're all going to try and head here. Well, that might be motivating for you because that's where you want to go. But if you want other people to follow you, then we've got to be able to create that individual style that says, and this is why it's important to you. So R, and this is not something I've frequently seen in goal setting exercise before, which is why I got so excited when I saw it in Spirit. R is about review and about regularly stopping and acknowledging, are we still heading in the right direction? And is the direction we're heading still where we want to go? It's about being able to say, this is what we set out to achieve, but in actual fact, COVID came along in 2020, the landscape changed, and as a result, we've now established that we can run a completely digital business as opposed to having to worry about a physical business. So we're going to move the dial somewhat. We're going to change the parameters of what we're going to do and how we're going to do. And we've got to be able to review what we do, who we do it with, how we do it, in order to be able to maintain on a new course. So review is about being able to have regular stops and take stock of where have we come from, where have we got to, are we still heading in the direction that we set out to achieve, and is that where we still want to end up? R is review. I is inspiring. Spirit, I, the second I, is inspiring. Writing the goals, and I say writing the goals because it uses a different level of cognitive thinking to write them as opposed to simply say them. But writing the goals in a positive state, being able to talk about, I have now achieved X as a result of. So inspirational thinking, inspirational goal setting. It's all about being able to have positive language of some things to work towards. There's a great example here of a good friend of mine, an old colleague of mine called John. And John, for a long time, he knew himself was significantly overweight. He carried a lot of weight with him. He'd gone through a period of depression, he'd eaten a lot, he hadn't done enough exercise, and as a result, over a period of about a decade, he'd piled on the pounds, and he was a large man. And despite trying to go through dieting and exercise and regimes and cutting this out and doing that instead, John invariably was a bit of a yo-yo with regards to his weight. He lost a few pounds, he gained a few pounds, he lost a few pounds, he gained a few pounds, he gave up on this, he tried the other. He continued to go through this cycle of not achieving a lot. And me and John lost touch for about a year. And I saw him at a social engagement around the December time. We ended up in a Christmas party together. And I ended up with a double take. I could not believe the man that stood in front of me. He looked absolutely fabulous, and I say that from one guy to another. He was lean, he was mean, he got a great tan, he got a real presence about him. He stood out. Wow, John, congratulations! I'm so pleased for you. I said, whatever diet it is that you went on has clearly worked for you. How did you manage to do it? Well, when all so many had failed in the past, how were you able to? What is it that you've done? What was your secret to success? He says, Jay, I didn't do a diet. Really? I said, your personal trainer must be exceptional. You must give me his number. He says, Jay, there's no personal trainer. Then, John, are you ill? Is everything okay? I said, I've never felt better. He said, I simply realised that as an accountant, I likes to attribute everything. I likes to account for everything. I likes to be controlling over my environment. And the thought of losing something, even if it was losing pounds from my waistline, was so incongruent with who I am as a person that every time I lost a few pounds, I found a way of being able to get them back again. And I've changed my thinking. You see, the man that you see standing before you has gained 81 pounds in additional lightness. And I looked at him a little bit strange and I says, help me out with that, John. And he said, well, when I stand on the scales these days, I'm 81 pound lighter than I was the last time you saw me, and I've gained that lightness. And simply by changing the dialogue from loss and losing and moving away from to moving towards something, changing the dialogue into a more positive outcome, an inspirational outcome, gave him the motivation he needed to be able to change his diet, change his exercise regime, change the way he operated, and as a result, lose all the weight he needed. Gain all the lightness he needed. So I is about inspiration. And then T, just as we did with SMART goals, is time bound. Being able to set a time frame, a strict time frame, not in the next 5 years, but by the 31st of March next year. Having a very specific guideline and timeline that says, and this is when I'm going to achieve it by. Hope that helps. So Spirit, specific goals with prizes along the way to be able to record and reward good behaviours to create that habit that are individuals to the person, that we regularly review to ensure that we're on course and that the course that we're on is the one that we want to remain on, written in an inspiring and positive methodology and positive outcome with a very specific time bound as to when you want to achieve them. Now, there's one caveat to this, and it's about time bound. So I'm going to spend a couple more minutes and just quickly talk to you about time and your perception of it. There's a good chance that if you've ever tried to diet before, you've looked at it and said, well, in the past, when I've done a diet that worked, I was able to lose about £2 a week. And I've got £10 to lose, so it's going to take me about 20 weeks. And ironically, about 19 to 21 weeks later, you've lost your pounds. I wonder what would happen if you told yourself that I've got to lose £20 in the next 4 weeks. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm no dietitian or nutritionist, and I'm sure that there's lots of things that you'd need to give consideration before losing a lot of weight in a very short time period. But the purpose is there's a different level of thinking that comes about when we change the time parameters. If I was to say to you, how long is it going to take to be able to generate an additional £1 million turnover in your business? You're going to look at how long it's taken you to generate the current turnover of your business. You're going to look at the gap between what your current turnover is and £1 million, and then you're going to do a computation and determine, well, it's taken me 5 years to get here, it's going to take me another 15 years before I can get to £1 million turnover. And that's not the way things work. You see, if you set yourself a goal of 15 years, then the chances are it's going to take you at least 15 years. But if I was to say, now determine what would you need to do differently in order to achieve all of that in the next 15 months? Well, first of all, that can't be done. And yet we look on the news every day of business startups that go on to be able to do tens of millions of dollars in the first 2 or 3 years of operation. So we know it can be done. It's just a case of we haven't considered how to make it done. So I want you to give considerations to your personal goals. I want you to give considerations to how they are congruent with the business goals, mission and values. I want you to be able to give considerations to how you express those to other people and help other people to build their personal goals around the congruence of the business goals. That we've got people that are here for the long term and helping to be able to grow the business beyond our involvement within it. We might want to use the acronym SPIRIT to be able to help both personal and other people set their own goals. But when it comes to time and time bound, I want you to give some real considerations to, do you really want to make this last? Do you really want to have to continue to do this and the work and work and work for the next 10, 15, 20 years before we realise it? Or do you want us to change your thinking and establish as to how could it be done in the next 15 to 24 months? I'm Jay Allen from My TrueNORTH, the UK's leading ethical coaching company. And we work with business owners to be able to help scale by implementing a proven ADDAZERO methodology. If you want to change the level of results that you have to first start with changing the level of thinking. I hope today's video has helped you somewhat. I look forward to being able to have a conversation with you if you'd like to be able to learn a little bit more about how to add a zero to your personal disposable income. Take care, and I'll see you soon.